Happy New Year, everybody, from all of us at speedcafe.com. Welcome to a very special edition of the KTM Summer Grill. Given that it is the beginning of a brand new year, we thought it highly fitting today to look ahead to the start of the brand new chapter for Supercars, and that is Gen 3. In order to do that, I'm joined by two guys who are immersed in this whole process, who know it way better than me from a technical standpoint. But what we're hoping to do is to answer some of the questions and things that you have been talking about in the lead up to what is a milestone moment, a very significant period of change for the sport. Delighted to be joined by Ben Croak, Shell V-Power Racing Team Manager. Thank you for being here with us today. And Jeremy Moore, of course, Technical Director for Red Bull Ampol Racing. Happy New Year to you both.
Yeah, it's great.
It's good to have you here. Let's open the batting with that. I mean, how much work is involved in this whole process? Because January looks like having some pretty long days, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's just stuff from scratch. This has been the biggest generational change in the history of supercars. So building chassis from the ground up. So receiving space frame chassis, the middle part, the external parts, bolt them together, all the composite work, engines, transmission, suspension, it's all new. So it's a complete clean slate, a lot of work. Ben, what about from your side?
Yeah, just backing up what Jeremy says there, just an incredible amount of work from the design process to the on the theory behind it, the design process, and then the manufacture and the implementation, and as long with the testing that's taken place, and then the individual team builds. It's just a tremendous amount of hours and time that's gone into it.
Peel that onion back a little bit further for us in terms of, I mean, you probably can't put a number on it in man hours, but when this process really kind of kicked off properly, and why we're actually doing it. We know that there is no more Commodore and Holden in the sport. The category's taken a fresh new direction with Camaro v Mustang, but let's explore that. Just tell us a bit more.
Exactly. So it started in 2020, basically. The sort of ground of the concept were that we needed to fit a Camaro and a lot of other cars onto a new racing chassis. So we didn't need to adjust the bodywork to fit over the chassis. So everything from Mustang to Toyotas to AMGs, we wanted a clean slate to be able to adapt to any manufacturer that wanted to come in. But of course, keeping it with the two incumbents in GM and Ford to make sure they're catered for. So that was the first sort of tick that we needed to do. And we wanted to make it more modular, more repairable, and mainly also better racing. We want to have better racing as much as we can, improve it, so reduce the loss of downforce or loss of performance with the car following. So by taking some of the downforce off, you've got less downforce to lose, or less performance to lose. So that was sort of the main emphasis, and cost containment, trying to make things as cheap as possible. Was really the reason why we started this project. So in hours-wise, I'd say myself, 6,500 hours the last 2.5 years. Also, two other guys in our shop, probably 10,000 in total. So design, and that's only from Triple Eight side of things, let alone on the DJR side of things, doing all the Ford bodywork twice.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of work behind the scenes, and a lot of testing. That's not even including any testing or development, or the engine development side of things. So Kenny Mac, Bobby and Herod, there's lots of work behind those scenes as well. So it's amazing.
Ben, before I come to you, can we just talk about an extension of some of the commonality of things that you talked about there, and that is the chassis that underpins this. Talk us through that process and designing, building, and so on.
Exactly. So all new space frame chassis. So instead of a road car sort of structure with sheet metal, it's more tube work together, and nodes between the front and the rear structures. So you can unbolt and rebolt parts. So if you have a crash, it's a bit more repairable in a shorter period of time. So from there, incorporating different engines as well. The Coyote is a much bigger engine. So originally we designed it purely for the Coyote, and we actually have done a couple of running changes to improve that further again, to make that easily to remove without pulling the whole car apart. We want to be able to repair the cars between sessions. So there's been a few ongoing changes as well through feedback from the teams. It certainly hasn't been just our two teams deciding what we're doing. On the prototype, we've always had other teams coming in and having a look and saying, "Oh, we'd like to do this, we'd like that." So there's been a lot of iterations along the way, just trying to get to the best product for everyone.
Ben, beneath it all is still a very passionate GM versus Ford thing, which is great. But I love the fact that the word collaboration has filtered through this process. How important has collaboration with teams on various aspects of this been? And have you noticed a kind of friendliness emerging because of some of that?
I'm not sure about friendliness. At times, the competitiveness and that still comes through, but the collaboration from the design and the prototypes and that, even to the point of we had Jeremy and representatives from Triple Eight in our workshop looking at certain ways that we'd done it, and then we'd have representatives go up to their workshop and check out the differences between the two prototypes that people had done. It's unprecedented. And then the Gen3 committee, which was made up of other team representatives that, steered other, chassis parts and steering and brakes and all that sort of stuff. So, definitely a real voice of the teams. But I think the main collaboration in the first part of the design and parts was probably between Triple Eight and ourselves also.
Just highlight some of the differences too between Gen 2 Mustang and Gen 3 Mustang. I mean, first thing that springs to mind for a greenhorn is that the Gen 3 has that closer alignment in look with the road car, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, and amazingly so. The Gen 2 Mustang, we had to morph that car to fit around the existing roll cage structure sheet. It was stretched and raised and, kind of didn't really represent the road car going version of the Mustang. So to be able to implement the 70 to 80% of what the road going design is now with the new 7th gen Mustang, it's been fantastic. And, it's the results of the looks are amazing. So, the performance will back that up as well.
The Camaro is something unique, something new. Tell us about that.
Exactly. So, really looking forward to running and seeing all these 14 Camaros on the track next year. It's been a pleasure working with GM, particularly their styling group, to produce a road car, race car, which is like a road car on steroids. And so,
what's unique about it?
Wow, it's such a unique glass house. It's so super thin. It's probably not the best race car. You can't really see out of it, but it's just so aggressive. It's wide, it's fat, it's low, and of course a nice V8 sound coming out of it. So I'm sure the fans will be happy when they see them.
Has there been, naturally when you embark on a mission like this is probably a question to both of you, there's been some difficult things. What's been difficult about this project and getting to the point where we are now?
Of course, suppliers, in terms of the COVID hit, we all had to shut down. We couldn't, also designing and manufacturing, everything just slowed down. Getting parts.
How much of a setback was that, do you think?
6 months at least. Yeah, I'd say 6 months. And we're still feeling the ramifications of it.
Yeah.
We're still taking level material costs are going up and up and up. So the cost saving that we were wanting to have certainly has gone out the window with all these price increases in material, labour. It's been difficult, but that's probably, of course, a lot of work to get these cars done. But just, when you're at the you have to get the parts from somewhere else. You're really at their mercy.
Similar story?
Very much so. And from our side of things, we designed the original version of the Mustang, and then with the release of the 7th gen Mustang, we've had to we have redone that again. So effectively, we've built 2 Mustangs in the space of the 18 months or so that we've been doing this project. So, and to do any body work, like a complete body, is a massive undertaking. So for our team and the Ford Performance team to have done that twice in this space has just been mammoth.
Just share with the audience, if you can too, and our readers for that matter, about the relationship with Ford and how that may have changed compared to previous years, and in the background their thirst and appetite to be involved in this.
Yeah, Ford are massively involved, and when we became the homologation team in 2017, we've had a really good alliance with them and a great working relationship, and that has remained unchanged all the way through. They're heavily involved with the engine development side of things now, with the durability testing and just the design of the bodywork, and like Jeremy touched on, to be able to work with their styling departments about how they want their awesome car to look, and in the supercar world.
Yeah, you talked about the natural thing that everyone has suffered with in relation to delays, right, in the work environment. How much does that affect us from a testing standpoint? Is the end of January, we're January 1 now, but is that realistic, and where are we at?
It's still tight. January 30 is still tight. We're doing everything we can to meet that. I'm confident we can. All the parts are coming in. They're rolling in thick and fast. So I'm pretty confident we can get the cars out there on track. So we have to do what we can to get them out there. And there's been so many delays and pushbacks. We just need, this is the line in the sand now. We need to make it happen.
Sorry, you wanted to?
Yeah, no, there's no option. We're going racing in Newcastle in a couple of months' time. So and testing that needs to be done. So it's full steam ahead.
For both of you, as Powerhouse outfits, with a focus on 2022 and the things you were trying to achieve and did achieve, how much does that impact on what you're trying to do with this big change?
Yeah, it was difficult trying to balance current racing versus development of the Gen3. Trying to separate themselves. So the design work went clear with the design team, and then the racing team was sort of left to do their own minimum. You had to really say, no, that's the minimum the racing team can do. Any less than that, and it's not going to work. So it's a balancing on a knife edge.
Homologation team for Ford, it's the same thing.
Yeah, very, very similar thing. We've gone to almost in a way split our business up into two. There's the Gen3 side of things and the current car that we were running. And it was race team often doing their thing, and at any given time it was we would have racing team people at the track doing the current Mustang, and another team of people there with the prototype from the Ford and the Chev side of things. So it really was a big effort, and at times did it affect our what we were trying to do in terms of racing? I don't think so, but it made it difficult, that's for sure.
Good thing now is it's all full focus on the Gen3, so there's no more trying to mix the two worlds. Now it's one world.
Correct me if I'm wrong here. You guys know the technical aspects way better, but the some of the stuff suggests like a 64% change in downforce, right? Will that generate better passing, in your opinion, better racing?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. We suffer now not only for downforce but also the tyre temperatures. The tyre compounds we run right at their end of their limit. So when you're following, your tyres overheat and you can't pass. So now the car's lighter, so not only lower downforce but also lighter, so that's less sliding energy. So the compound should be much better in their window. So I believe there should be better racing.
What will make the Gen3 things better, in your opinion, from a spectacle, from a racing standpoint?
Oh, I think just from a the average punter on the street being able to look at the Mustang that's parked in the car park, and then they can look at the Mustang that's parked in our garage, and it's relatable. It really is. It's it's the Ford hero car for 40, 50 years. So to be able to relate to that, and it looked like a really tough going version of the road car, I think that's the big appeal to the fans, and it still sounds cool. And hopefully the racing side of it is amazing as well, and we can put on a great show.
You control front end, so the immediate thought from some people is, what does that do to an engineer's options in the bank? How tunable will they be?
We try to incorporate as much tunability as possible. The good thing is now the mode from Gen3 is to have everyone on the same parts, so you don't need a design team as much to reinvent the front upright, reinvent the wishbones or the kinematic. Everyone has got the same kit, so it's really about the guys who perform best on the day, the team and also the drivers. So it should narrow down the field and narrow. You might get some outliers at the start of the season, like we've seen before, where people bolt out the gate, not necessarily us two.
Okay.
And so there might be a change of order, but we'd hope that we could hunt them down if that's the case.
Will there be a change of order, do you think? Maybe in the short term?
You never know. Look, with the when Car of the Future come out, the Brad Jones team, they were outstanding, straight up. So it's a real possibility, because we really are starting with a clean sheet of paper and the same car for everyone. Everyone's got new cars. There's no old cars out there that are used or worn out now. Everyone's got new equipment and the same equipment. And from an engineering point of view, I guess it's exciting. It challenges these guys to, sharpen their pencil and work harder.
To take your answer there into part of my next question, I mean, what you've alluded to there is that the premise of this is to have with Gen3 a more level playing field, right? Do you feel that some teams will have an edge, or are we going to actually see that?
Yeah, well, it's a tough one. No, they shouldn't have a big edge because really it's about the setup and the driver. You'll still have the top drivers being the top drivers. That you can't change. But each team, they really should be able to get to the window that they need quicker because they don't need to think about, oh, they're running a different kinematic, I can't get there, you know. It's just all about going testing, which we have a few more test days now at the start of the year, and just trying different things to get to the best setup as soon as they can. And then straight into the street circuit, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah. Look, the good teams with the good people, I think will shine eventually. But you know, it's going to be pretty crazy to start with as to who might pop up where.
We're a game, and we'll finish it on this note if we can with the both of you. We're a game of politics and rumor and all this sort of stuff. You guys deal in facts, right? I'd love you, if you're comfortable with it, to encourage our audience to come with you on this mission, to forget maybe some of that stuff. What would be the key thing that you would say to them about why this is going to be good and what the package brings to the table that should excite them as an audience?
Absolutely. The cars are harder to drive. There's going to be more corners on the circuits because the king through Bathurst before the chase, that's going to be a corner now. They have to live through there. So the overtaking move is going to be super wild. So all around the calendar, you'll see more corners pop up where actually it's not full throttle anymore. They have to think about what they're doing and they've got to control it. So you'll have really, the drivers will be really tested. Ben?
Yeah, it's exactly that. Most of the drivers now, if not all, have all driven the prototypes, and a lot of the feedback from guys that are around in the Project Blueprint era are like, this is actually like an old supercar to drive. It moves around on me. It's harder to drive. Like it's going to be fun, but it's going to be tricky, So the comments are very similar around that sort of thing. Harder to drive, more mistakes, more passing, should create entertainment.
I know it is a game where by nature, big sporting teams always look for advantage, and that'll create lots of long hours and lots of work for the both of you as we get cars on the grid. Thank you to you and your staff for what is to come in terms of all the long hours and the thousands of hours that have gone into this in the lead up. And importantly, for two rival outfits to bring two guys together today to share a bit of that for the viewers and readers at home. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
There you go. Jeremy Moore and Ben Croak. Super cool edition of the KTM Summer Grill here at speedcafe.com. We would love your thoughts. You can leave a comment below. Make it a positive one. We'll see who's our special guest on tomorrow's edition of the show. As a part of this year's Summer Grill, our great partner in KTM each week has a special prize pack to give away, which includes a stool, a stubby holder, and a KTM hat. Very cool additions for your man cave, your garage, or just for around the barbecue. To enter, all you've got to do is head to speedcafe.com or click on the link description below, and you could be in the running. And check out, of course, tomorrow's next edition of the KTM Summer Grill right here at speedcafe.com.